إله إلا الله سيدنا محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين. We praise Allah, we thank Him, we ask Him for forgiveness, for mercy and for guidance, and to raise the rank of our dearest Prophet and Master and Leader Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إن شئت سهلا. اللهم ارزقنا الإخلاص في النية والقول والعمل. Do place a sincere intention in your hearts, barakallahu fikum, to acquire the knowledge, wanting the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So welcome to this seventh slide of the series, the Islamic Creed Rhymes, and tonight we will be showing you slide number 7, and we're going to be tackling lines 25, 26, 27 and 28. These lines are very beneficial for everyone who's seeking the knowledge of Tawheed, Aqidah, and it will sit in your head and in your heart in such a way that you can remember, and when you're teaching or when you're spreading the knowledge, inshallah. So these 4 lines read, God's power relates to possibles. He creates by it and annihilates. It does not relate to impossibles or that which logic necessitates. So these 4 lines are very, very important to understand, and we talk about the intellectual judgment, al-hukm al-aqli, and that it is divided into 3. So we're going to explain this tonight, inshallah, within our 15 minutes, and we're going to try and see if we can go through it, inshallah, within the 15 minutes and get it done, inshallah ta'ala. So we're going to start as usual by checking the first 7 slides. We're going to read them together as we do usually, and I'm going to take you now through the reading of the 7 slides. So bear with me, I'll just make my screen a little bit smaller, and I will come back to you with the 7 slides because I have to work the system so that it works and functions well for you. So we're going to read them, but last night I think when we read them it showed to be very, very small. So we're going to go now through slide 1, and here's a slide 1. It says, and that's how it starts, every saint pubescent who heard that except God no deities exist, that he sent Muhammad to the world, must embrace Islam and not resist. Islam is to believe God is one, without any partner or need. God exists before time begun, and before space indeed. God's existence is not assigned, and has no beginning or end. He's not imagined in the mind, a notion logic does commend. Creations do not create, God created all of them. None does he permeate, nothing resembles him. God created earth and skies, man, trees, the moon, the sun, all bodies of limits and size, all in need of God the One. Need indeed is an attribute, in each body must be found, a logic sense does not refute, hence bodying God is unsound. God's power relates to possibles. He creates by it and annihilates. It does not relate to impossibles or that which logic necessitates. So tonight we'll be explaining this part here, and I'm going to just enlarge my screen again so that we can focus on this part. So al-hukm al-aqli, and I'm aware of the time. We're up on 9:35. I'm going to try and finish at 9:35. I'm going to try and finish at 9:45. Some said to me, Hajj, the lesson you said is going to be 15 minutes, and we're up on 25 or 27 minutes, and so on and so forth. So inshallah ta'ala, we will stick to the 15 minutes. So when we talk about the intellectual judgment, okay, we think that when we think about this, we know that we can divvy them up into three. We have the logical necessity, and we have the logical impossibility, and we have the logical possibilities. Now, it means what the mind, the sense, common sense, the brains, accepts its existence at one point and accepts its non-existence at another point. This is called the logical possibility. And we're starting with this because this is easy to understand. And this is like us, all the creations. We were not, and then we became. So when we look at ourselves in the sense that we weren't, we are accepting of non-existence. When we look at ourselves that we are, we exist now, we also see the other attribute of us, which is accepting existence. So we accept non-existence and we accept existence. What do you call this? You call this that which logically the mind accepts that it's existent and non-existent. That which is like that, we classify it under the intellectual judgments, the logical judgments, as a logical possibility. So man, the trees, the seas, the sun, the moon, the skies, the earths, all the creations are logical possibilities because they accept existence and non-existence in different states. When they are in these different states, they are accepting of them. Because they are accepting of them, we call them possibility. It's possible that they exist and it's possible that they do not exist. They have a beginning and they have an end, except for those matters that Allah willed for them not to end, not by virtue of them deserving from their original state of being in such a way that it becomes due to them by the mere fact that they exist in terms of their principles. No, but because Allah willed for them to continue to exist, like Al-Arish, like Al-Jannah, meaning the Arish and paradise and the souls and the breaths of the people in Al-Jannah and their enjoyment there, and the torture of the non-believers to no end, and their torture there. So that is what we call the intellectual possibilities. Now we move to the next one, and these matters are very, very important. Imam Abu Hanifa says, اعلم أن الفقه في الدين أفضل من الفقه في الأحكام. What he means by that, and the reason why I'm connecting these 2 points now before I continue to explain what is the logical impossibilities and the logical necessity, is simple. I need to explain that because a lot of people out there, in trying to push and repel the people of the truth, teaching the Aqidah, they say to them, why are you getting engaged and involved in these matters? Why do you talk about Aqidah? Leave those matters to the previous scholars. Just memorize the Quran and wear your clothes according to Sunnah and follow it. Little they knew that all the scholars, and maybe it's not little that they knew, it's probably they knew, but they're doing it on purpose. They know that the people of the truth, if they expose them, these bodyers and likeners, who have an interest in hiding the knowledge of true theology about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-aqidah, the creed, the belief, the essentials of Islam, they know that by hiding this, there's no resistance in people's minds because people can be taken by the imagery and the talk and the speeches of these people who say, we have to memorize the Quran and don't worry about aqidah and don't worry about tawheed and just know that this is haram, this is kufr, this is haram, this is kufr, and all these other people, if they're not like us, they are kuffar, even though they claim to be Muslims. But if there are a lot of lanterns in the world, candles, beams of truth, and they speak with veracity, they speak with evidence, they can prove their points, this does not work in their favor. And because of that, they try to shut it down. But Imam Abu Hanifa says, اعلم أن الفقه في الدين. What we are studying in these slides, and I named them ليس كمثله شيء on purpose because I want everyone to read this title and know that we are talking about Tawheed, and that's what we must spread, all of us collectively. He says, is better. This type of knowledge in Tawheed ranks higher than the knowledge that you acquire in learning about Salat and Siyam. We're not saying it reductively. What we are trying to say that it ranks better, it is best, because the nobility and the status of how good a knowledge is relates to what you're learning about. And since you are learning about Allah and the messengers and the attributes of Allah, the attributes of the messengers, what is a must to believe in Allah, what is permissible, what is forbidden about Allah and about His prophets, this knowledge pertains to Allah, and there's no one of greater status than Allah. And the nobility of the knowledge is commensurate, is relative to the one whom you're learning about. And therefore, since we are learning about Allah and there's no one greater in status than Him, then the knowledge about Him is greater than all other knowledges. And that's why Abu Hanifa said that. So we need to learn these things. So we talked about the logical possibility. Now, the logical impossibility is that which the mind does not accept its existence. And that is like Allah being in the place. That is like the existence of a second ilah, a second God. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا فسبحان الله رب العرش عما يصفون. Meaning, we cannot attribute to Allah any of the attributes of the creations in the ayah. Okay, these kuffar who said about Allah, He comes, He goes, He sits, He is, He has the principles and the attributes of the creations of man, of directions. Allah Ta'ala is clearing Himself of being attributed, and He's saying He's above, not in space, but in attribution, that He would, it would apply to Him those characteristics of the physicals. So that which the mind cannot accept, and one of those, as we said, it's impossible to exist, is second God or a third God or many gods. That is impossible. And Allah Ta'ala said, if there were many gods in the creation of the creations, then it wouldn't have come to exist, because every God would be, according to their theory, with the full power. And if he is, and one of them wanted things to happen and one of them didn't want things to happen, both of them, since according to those who claim that, will have full power, they're saying that we're going to have things that can exist and non-exist at the same time in the same moment. And that doesn't make any sense. And that's from the Quran. And the way logical impossibility works is by saying in your mind, if somebody asks you the question, because some of them trick you, particularly atheists, they say, and the question, we don't say yes or no when this question is posed. What we say this is an intellectual impossibility, such as them saying, can your Lord put himself in a bottle, or can he come down to earth? You don't say yes, you don't say no. You say this is an intellectual impossibility, because space does not apply to the creator. This space is for the creations. Your question is wrong. And that's how we refute these people. And the last one is the logical necessity. And nobody can be attributed by the state of his existence being a logical necessity except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this means the one whom the logic, the sense, the sound mind does not accept that he does not exist. And that's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because had Allah not existed, none of the creations exist. And every creation is telling that Allah Ta'ala does exist. And in this, Shaykh Abu al-Barakat al-Dardir al-Maliki في الخريدة البهية, he says, أقسام حكم العقل لا محالة هي الوجوب ثم الاستحالة ثم الجواز ثالث الأقسام فافهم منحت لذة الأفهام. And he is one of those scholars of Islam some long time ago, who said that the matters are spread into these three, which is al-wujub, al-istihala, al-jawaz, which is the impossibility, the possibility, and the necessity. So he starts with the wujub, a necessity, al-istihala, impossibility, and al-jawaz. And these are the three judgments of the intellect, how we see things from al-hukm al-aqli, from the intellectual judgment, when we measure up the creations and we measure up the existence. Allah is an existent, we are existence. And those impossible existence that people may come across to think about, also we place them in the impossible intellectually to happen. So here you've got it, we read them one more time. God's power relates to possibles. He creates by it and annihilates. It does not relate to impossibles or that which logic necessitates. What we need to just mention at the end is that when we talk about Allah, the All-Powerful, who is attributed with power, now we understand the intellectual judgment that there is a necessity, intellectual necessity, an intellectual impossibility, and intellectual possibility. We say that Allah's power relates to the third one, which is the logical possibilities. It doesn't relate to the necessity. In other words, Allah did not create himself. His existence is due to him. It does not relate to the intellectual impossibility because it is an intellectual impossibility. And this does not mean that Allah is not powerful or incapable or lacks power. No, this is just the logic and what it's telling. Because when you think about things, they have to take a progressive, intellectual, sound path of relating every thought to the other. There's no relation between Allah's power and the intellectual impossibilities. There's no relation between Allah's power and the intellectual necessity. There is the relationship. We say that the power of Allah is concerned with the logically possible. So if you want to draw a mental relationship in your head about the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what it relates to the logically possible. And there you've got it. These are the intellectual judgments, the logical necessity, the logical impossibility, and the logical possibility. For tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to read them one more time, all 7 slides, and I have some good news for you. We've got someone who's now starting to memorize all 7 of them, a little girl, and I've asked her mom to, inshallah, when she finishes, very soon, even if she memorizes 2 slides or 3 slides, because I'm on a charge to make sure that all our children in the English world memorize these lines, and you're gonna have such a wonderful time memorizing them yourselves because they're good. And I'm trying, although I've written these lines, I'm gonna try and memorize them again. Even though you're right, sometimes you don't memorize what you've written yourself. And also the children, they are my concern, and that's why I keep saying to you, share. It's just a flick of a finger. You know, when I read 50, 60 shares, 100 shares, I think to myself, how? I know that if people really wanted to share, we can have hundreds of these shares. Why? Because we want to spread the good knowledge, the right knowledge. And you don't know whom out of these kids that we're going to give to them and share to everyone, from whose house the next, inshallah, big sheikh for this ummah will come out. And this could be a reason for them from the English world. So do not be someone with a shortcoming on this. Please do your bit and share it, and as soon as you can. So we're going to reread them very quickly, inshallah ta'ala. And I'm going to go back to making my image here very, very small so that it doesn't disturb the look of the other slides. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint from the very beginning, and we're going to read them together, all 7. Every saint pubescent, so Bismillah walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, laysa kamithlihi shay', قال الله تعالى. Now, this is called the Islamic Creed rhymes. We're going to read, every saint pubescent who heard that except God no deities exist, that he sent Muhammad to the world, must embrace Islam and not resist. Islam is to believe God is one, without any partner or need. God exists before time begun, and before space indeed. God's existence is not assigned, and has no beginning or end, is not imagined in the mind, a notion logic does commend. Creations do not create, God created all of them, none does he permeate, nothing resembles him. God created earth and skies, man, trees, the moon, the sun, all bodies of limits in size, all in need of God the One. Need indeed is an attribute in each body must be found, a logic sense does not refute, hence bodying God is unsound. God's power relates to possibles, he creates by it and annihilates, it does not relate to impossibles or that which logic necessitates. Barakallahu fikum, this is our lesson for tonight. Tomorrow again at 9:30, inshallah, spread the word. And I have other information for you. We're writing all the documents that you need, which I'm going to upload as well, with all the, on the right hand side, evidence that's a lot of you have asked for, and also the lines that are being rewritten in a one document, and it's gonna come out like a small booklet with all of them. Remember, we're on slide 7, and stay with us 9:30, 15, 20 minutes. This is essential. I know that you want this material. A lot of you have communicated with myself on private, and they've asked for this material. Barakallahu feekum, and for your interest. But it's not about me, it's about the children, it's about memorizing, it's about defending the religion and spreading the right word. Please share, don't forget, as I always say, and it's just a small flick of a button. Barakallahu feekum, and make sure you intend well when you share. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. See you in 24 hours, inshallah.